I will teach you how to make any girl chase after you. Warning, I'm going to give you 5 rules. If you follow these, any women will become obsessed with you. Use these rules for good intentions and be a real man. When you put a girl on a pedestal and treat her like she's the prize, something clicks in her brain and she goes, "Whoa, I'm the prize here. I can relax a little bit. I don't have to try as hard. I don't have to impress him as much. I have options." And when she does that, her interest in you slowly starts to dwindle. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is how to reposition yourself so that she views you as you are a precious thing in her life, so that in the interaction, you're the prize that she's pursuing. One thing that is crystal clear is that any time you treat a woman like she's above you, she instinctively begins to look at you as if you are below her. It's human nature. So I want to discuss is that how can you be the prize with a woman? How can you have her see you as you are the man that she wants? That's what she also wants as much as you do. And what I mean by that is a lot of guys think, if I treat her like a princess, that's how I'm going to get her. But the reality is that we all want to be with somebody that we see as the prize. So if you're treating her like a princess, she goes like this: "Well, I'm superior here," which means you are not. Well, you can't both be. And every girl wants to be with a man who is superior, who can protect her. We all do it because, as I said, it's human nature. We want somebody that we believe we have to work for and that we have to win over. And if you're not giving her that, you'll lose her. So how do you do that? We're going to go through 5 ways to position yourself as a prize. Rule number 1. The first rule is a belief, and it's the unwavering belief that you are actually the superior. And this is really tough for a lot of guys, because a lot of guys think, well, I'm not the prize. She's better looking than me, or she's more outgoing. She has more friends than me. They have all these things in their heads. But we've all met the guy who really doesn't have a lot going for him. He's not making a lot of money. He's not the best looking guy. And he firmly and unwaveringly believes that he's the prize. And what happens when you do that? Women buy into it. When you slap a really high price tag on yourself, if you believe you're the prize, then you start acting like that. And I promise women will begin to treat you like never before. And when they do that, you become the prize. It's very simple. Let's say it's a chicken or the egg type of thing, but you've got to start with that unwavering belief that I am the prize. Now, what we're going to talk about is how to actually implement that belief when you're with a woman. How do you display this without coming out and saying that I'm the prize? Because if she assumes it on her own, then she will believe it. So how do you act like that? Well, that's rule number 2. Stop chasing validation. The next thing you have to do is stop chasing validation. And what I mean by that is validation vacuum. When a man and a woman get together, if you ask a woman out on a date or you're meeting up with her, there's this validation vacuum where somebody is going to be trying to get validation. Somebody's going to be trying to impress the other person, and it's kind of weird. So if you stop trying to impress her, she's going to instinctively try to fill that vacuum with validation by trying to impress you and get validation from you, because it's just this thing where somebody has to do it. Another thing to think about when we talk about not chasing validation is that it's always better to show instead of telling. So if you think about a lot of the reasons you're going to tell her that you did something, maybe you want to tell her about your vacation to South America or your new job promotion. What you're really trying to do is show a trait that you have. Or maybe you're trying to show her that you're successful enough to do that. But the reality is that we believe something more when we see it with our own eyes. So instead of telling her about your adventures, be adventurous with her. Instead of telling her that you're a leader at work, lead her. Take her and say, "Hey, let's go do this." Leave the vibe with her. Another thing to keep in mind with this idea of not chasing validation is not over-explaining yourself. If somebody's the prize and we want them to like us, we often tend to try to justify things. So if we aren't really comfortable with the job we have, we might try to explain it. And when you do that, you're showing the person that their opinion is really important to you and you're trying to impress them. So you want to stop chasing validation, because when you do that to fill that vacuum, she is going to start wanting your validation. Rule number 3, be the decision maker. This is something that a lot of guys have difficulty understanding when you're meeting a woman and you ask her out on a date. Then the woman loses interest, and it's always because she's clearly the prize in her eyes by the way he's treating her. And once a woman knows she's surprised, she leaves you. But what a lot of guys don't understand is that we think, well, we're sick of getting ghosted by women. We're sick of women losing interest after a couple dates. But here's the thing. Women are just as sick of this. If you come into it and you start treating her like the princess, then there's something off about that for her. So when I say be the decision maker, that means do not automatically be impressed by her. You just go in with this attitude of, I don't know what I want from her, and show her that she is not an important person in your life. Then something clicks in her mind, because nobody treat her like that. So how do you put this into action? How do you demonstrate this well? We're going to use something that I call next level deep validation and next level deep curiosity. So validation comes from curiosity. Let's say you're talking to a woman and you find out she's a lawyer. Well, the natural instinct of a guy who's trying to impress a woman or get a woman to like him, and so he will say, oh my God, you're a lawyer. That must have been so hard. But the reality is we don't know why she chose to be a lawyer. What if her family had the expectation she was going to be a lawyer, and that's not really what she wanted to do? Well, now when you tell her how cool it is that she's a lawyer, it doesn't mean anything to her. So instead, what I always say is to go the next level deep before validating, and to always be curious to learn more. So you have to be like, oh, what made you decide to do that? Then she might go, well, because I've always been into law. You're always going next level deep. Because when you do that, what's going on here is that she's going in her brain and going, oh, he wants to know why I got drawn to law. Okay, what is my reason? And she's subconsciously going to try to impress you. And then when she tells you about the ultimate reason she chose is, then you can go, oh, that's really cool. And now it means something to her. And it also is positioning you as not being easily won over. So go next level deep with your curiosity before validating a woman. Rule 4. I know I gave you some sort of theoretical ones, but this one is a simple one, is asking her for a favor. And what's interesting about this one is that we tend to think that to get a woman to like you, you are going to do her a favor. Let's say if she's complaining that her car is making a weird sound, we might automatically say, no problem, I'll take a look at it. But if you want somebody to like you, ask them for a favor. It's counterintuitive, right? There's something called effort justification, which means that when we're going after something, we want to believe that we're doing it for a reason that makes sense. So when she's doing you a favor and part of her brain is going to start going, why am I doing this? Oh, I must like this guy. It must be worth it, right? It's an effort justification. You don't need to go overboard with this. You don't need to have a girl do you favor after favor, and don't be afraid to ask for a favor early on with a woman. Don't make the favor seem like an excuse to hang out with her. We've all made that mistake too, where she's like, you know, I'm good at yoga. Then you are like, can you show me how to do it well? Then a part of her brain goes, oh, he's just using me. So instead, what you can say is, can you make me a video on how to do that? Or, can you just, record yourself making a video? Because now it seems more real, and she's putting in work, and she's sitting there with the camera going, why am I doing this? And she feels like she likes you. It's weird, but true. Rule 5. Set and communicate standards. Set and communicate standards means when you go to the dentists, you will see some dentists, they'd be like, do you want water, sir? Do you need anything, sir? And then if you go to another dentist, this other dentist is like, when you walk in his door, there's a sign if you're more than 5 minutes late, you're going to have to reschedule the appointment. That was the prize the dentist chose for himself because he set and communicated standards. Do not let a woman downgrade your meetups. Let's say if you're going to hang out with a woman, you're supposed to meet up with her for dinner, but when you hit her up and said, "Hey, so you want to grab dinner?" And all of a sudden she was like, "I'm kind of tired tonight, but why don't we meet for lunch?" That's like a downgrade, right? So what happens is that a lot of guys think, well, if I lose this opportunity, I might not see her again. So they say, "Oh, sure, I'll meet you for lunch." But the reality is you want to communicate your standards. Do not let her downgrade your meetup. Here in this situation, you can go like this and say, "Why don't we just reschedule for a night you have free?" Here you might be thinking, well, I might lose my chance. But in her mind, you just communicated that you're not that person who is available all the time. So you have to set and communicate standards because it's important.